Hello and welcome to my YouTube real estate channel. Today I would like to talk to you about the meaning and the purpose of the as-is clause in residential purchase contracts. So as you know, in Santa Clara County, the purchase contract for residential properties are as is. So what does it really mean, both for the buyers and for the sellers? So on the buyer side, the as-is clause means that the buyer is buying the property in its present condition when they saw it, actually, and when they wrote an offer. I just would like to read you something that I found is a good definition and pretty, because it's accurate and a good synopsis. So, the buyer accepts the property in the condition in which it is reasonably observable by him or her as of the date of the offer. So reasonably acceptable, means that you don't need to come with an army of contractors, inspectors. You should have a look, and not being a professional in the construction world, and be able to see what needs to be seen. Okay, so now let's go on the seller side, what the as-is clause means. So on the contrary of what people believe or are scared of, the as-is clause does not actually eliminate the seller's duty to disclose what he or she knows about the property, which those facts are called material facts. So the most important is seller shall not concede and not disclose something that will affect the value of the property, and that would lead the buyer or the potential buyer either not to buy the property or to buy the property for a lower price. So there's another definition. I like things that are short and easy to understand. To put it simply, the sellers are liable for any failure, whether negligent or intentional, to reveal known concealed defect not apparent from an inspection of the property by the buyer. So we go back to what I was just telling you. You don't need to be a contractor to say, this is wrong with the property. I mean, if this is wrong, it should be seen. If the seller tries to conceal it, well, they are in the air. Okay, so now let's refocus and find out or understand what is the purpose of the as-is clause. So the purpose of the as-is clause is pretty simple. It's to protect the buyers. Okay, so here are the questions that I'm asked all the time, actually both by sellers and by buyers, both of them. So does the as-is clause eliminate any obligation on the part of the sellers to make any repair whatsoever? The answer is absolutely not. So what does it mean? It means that if between the time of acceptance and the time you close escrow, so there is a transfer of ownership between the seller and the buyer, something is damaged, something, I don't know, you can have a problem with the sprinkler system, okay? And this is not the buyer's fault. Then the seller will have to pay for the repair before the close of escrow. So as a reminder, the close of escrow is when the grant deed is recorded by the county recorder's office and the transfer of property becomes known from the public. One little thing. If you look at the residential purchase contract, it says, nevertheless, in the as-is paragraph of the residential purchase contract, there is a phrase that says, unless otherwise agreed in writing, then the as-is clause, blah, blah, blah. What does it mean? It means that even if it's as-is, when you see something that you don't like or you want some money for it, the buyer will include in their offer a request for repair for specific things or several things. Okay, so again, as is the seller has to maintain the property in the same condition at the close of escrow that the property was when he or she accepted an offer, and the as-is clause is not like you're stuck, locked in this. As a buyer, you have the possibility to request a repair in your offer. Will it be accepted? Is it a good strategy to get your offer accepted? That's another story, but just know that you can do it. The other question that I'm asked a lot is the seller still required to make repair for state and local retrofit requirements? So let me give you an example. Here in Santa Clara County, your water heater needs to be brazed, okay? The same way you need to have a smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. So is the as-is clause supersede the obligation of the seller to braze the water heater, to put carbon monoxide detector and smoke detector? The answer is simple. It's no. They have to do it. And you have to be very careful as a seller, because if you have a buyer that comes with a loan, I've seen some appraiser actually, thanks God, not in one of my listings, but I've heard, let's put it like this, that some appraiser, if they don't see a carbon monoxide or a smoke detector, they will literally refuse to appraise, and they will come back, and they will not come back until it's done. So, third question, does the as-is clause relieve the seller of the obligation of having to make disclosure? The answer is no, because as it says, sellers are obligated to provide all disclosures required by law and contract regardless of the as-is clause. So among those sellers' disclosures, there's two that are very important. The first one is clause the TDS, which stands for the Transfer Disclosure Statement, which is actually an opportunity for the seller to give even more information and to disclose more information about the property, okay? Just know that there are exceptions. The most noticeable one, or the one that lots of people know about, is the seller will not have to complete the TDS if the house for sale is in foreclosure, if there is a probate, because of course, supposedly the seller is not living anymore in the house. But here we go. There's another important questionnaire for the seller, which is the SPQ, the Seller Property Questionnaire. So the Seller Property Questionnaire, the purpose of this questionnaire is absolutely not to replace or to substitute the Transfer Disclosure Statement. It's just an opportunity to provide additional information when the owner of the house needs to complete the TDS, because he actually lives in the property or lived recently in the property. But most importantly, when you are in one of those cases like the foreclosure, when the Transfer Disclosure Statement shall not be completed, well, the SPQ, the Seller Disclosure Questionnaire, will still force the seller to actually disclose what they know about the property. Last but not least, it's another question that I have a lot. Does the as-is clause, or is the as-is clause, forbid the buyers to actually inspect the property at their own expenses? So the answer is absolutely not. The as-is clause touches the condition of the property when the investigation touches a more thorough research about what's going on with the property. So what's happening right now, and actually it's been happening for a long time, most of the seller will actually hire, before they put the property on the market, a home inspector, a pest inspector, and then the buyer will be in a position to know, so they won't necessarily have to investigate, but if they decide to do so, they absolutely can, and they will have to pay for it, and then go back to the negotiation table if there are some important issues. All right, so I hope this helps. I'll talk to you soon. Stay tuned. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.